The morning sun stretched golden light across the tall buildings as the city awakened with a familiar rhythm. The sound of cars moving along the road mixed with the hurried footsteps of people rushing toward offices, schools, and markets. In the middle of this restless stream of life stood Daniel with a small camera hanging from a strap around his neck. Unlike others, he was not rushing anywhere. He waited patiently, watching with calm eyes as if searching for something hidden among the ordinary. Daniel was not a filmmaker nor a professional photographer. He was simply a man with a vision that many had long forgotten. He believed that kindness still existed in the world, though hidden beneath layers of noise and indifference. Too often people said humanity had grown cold. Too often headlines spoke only of greed and conflict. Daniel refused to believe it. He was determined to capture proof of compassion in its raw and honest form, and he trusted his little camera to become the witness. On his first day of this mission, he stood near a busy train station. The air was heavy with the scent of roasted chestnuts from a street vendor and the shouts of taxi drivers trying to attract passengers. Amid all this, Daniel noticed a young boy dressed in worn shoes staring at the snack stand with longing eyes. His hands were deep in his empty pockets. A woman dressed in a simple coat walked past him, paused, then turned back. She bought a bag of chestnuts and gently placed it in the boy's hands before disappearing into the crowd. The boy's face lit up with a smile brighter than the morning sun. Daniel quickly lifted his camera and recorded the moment. Later that night, when he replayed the clip, he felt warmth spread through his chest. The following afternoon, Daniel waited outside a bakery. He had no idea what he would find, but his instinct told him to remain. Soon an old man carrying groceries struggled to lift a heavy bag. His knees shook under the weight. A teenager removed his headphones, walked over, and carried the bag for him across the road. The old man touched the boy's shoulder and nodded with gratitude. Daniel captured the gesture through his lens. The recording showed no words, yet it spoke louder than speeches. As days went by, Daniel's collection grew. He recorded a woman paying for a stranger's bus ticket after the man realized he had lost his wallet. He recorded children handing bottles of water to construction workers sweating under the sun. He even recorded a taxi driver stopping his vehicle in traffic to help a blind man cross the street while others honked impatiently. Each moment reminded Daniel that kindness was alive, though often unseen. But not everyone understood what Daniel was doing. Some people gave him suspicious looks as he stood with his camera. One man even asked why he was wasting time filming small gestures that had no importance. Daniel simply smiled and said that small gestures carried the power to change hearts. He explained that the world did not need only big miracles. It needed reminders that humanity was still breathing in every corner. The man walked away shaking his head, yet Daniel continued his work. One evening, as the sky softened into shades of orange, Daniel sat in the park with his camera resting on his lap. Birds flew above while children played on swings. On a bench nearby, a homeless woman sat with her head bowed low. Her hair was tangled, her clothes were thin against the chilly air. People walked past, pretending not to see her. Then a little girl walking with her mother stopped in front of the woman. She carried a stuffed bear in her hands. Without hesitation, she offered the toy. At first the woman shook her head, but the girl gently pushed the bear into her lap. Slowly the woman raised her face, and tears rolled down her cheeks. Daniel pressed record, his hands trembling. He knew he had just witnessed one of the purest forms of kindness. That night Daniel could not sleep. He replayed the clip again and again. The sight of the little girl offering something so dear to her broke every wall around his heart. It was not wealth being given. It was not food or money. It was love expressed through innocence. Daniel realized that sometimes children taught lessons adults had long forgotten. The more Daniel recorded, the more he noticed changes around him. People who once walked past strangers without care began to pause. Some helped the elderly. Some offered food to the hungry. Some smiled at those who looked lonely. And sometimes when Daniel raised his camera, people seemed encouraged to act because they knew kindness was being remembered. After weeks of collecting these moments, Daniel began uploading short clips online. At first the views were few and comments were scarce. But slowly word spread. People started sharing his videos, saying they had cried watching them. Others admitted they had lost faith in humanity, but the videos gave them hope again. Messages poured in from every corner of the world. One message came from a man who had just returned from war. He wrote that he had seen so much cruelty that he no longer believed goodness existed. Yet when he watched the clip of the little girl giving her toy to the homeless woman, he felt tears fall for the first time in years. He thanked Daniel, saying the video reminded him that love had not disappeared from the earth. Daniel sat in front of his laptop reading those words with a heavy heart and a gentle smile. His little camera had not just recorded acts of kindness. It had begun to heal people who thought the world was broken beyond repair. And deep inside Daniel knew this was only the beginning. Weeks had turned into months and Daniel had now gathered a treasure chest of recordings. His videos no longer belonged only to him. They had spread across the world, reaching homes, schools, hospitals, and even places where despair was stronger than light. His little camera had become a window into the soul of humanity. One morning he woke to find his inbox flooded with hundreds of new messages. A teacher from another country wrote that she had shown Daniel's videos to her students, and afterward the children had promised to perform at least one act of kindness each week. A doctor wrote from a hospital saying that the clips were being played in waiting rooms and patients who were anxious began to smile after watching. Another message came from an old man who lived alone. He said that after seeing the recordings he decided to start talking kindly to neighbors, and now he no longer felt invisible. Daniel felt humbled. He never sought fame nor fortune. All he wanted was to remind people that love still existed. Yet now he realized he had become part of something much larger. The acts of kindness he captured were not staying in one place. They were multiplying like ripples across an endless sea. One cold December morning Daniel experienced a lesson of his own. His car broke down on a snow-covered road while he was on his way to meet a friend. He stepped out shivering, trying to push the vehicle to safety, yet his strength failed. Just when he thought he would freeze, a truck pulled over and 3 strangers climbed out. They pushed his car together until it rested by the roadside. Then they handed him hot coffee and even called a mechanic for him. Daniel felt his chest tighten with gratitude. For the first time he was no longer the observer. He was the one receiving kindness. Later he laughed softly, thinking how the camera was not even rolling that day, yet the moment was more powerful than any recording. By spring Daniel decided to gather his best moments into one long film. He titled it Heartwarming: Random Acts of Kindness Caught on Camera, Faith in Humanity Restored. The film premiered online and within days it reached millions. Families watched together. Teachers played it in classrooms. Volunteers used it in community events to inspire others. Everywhere people were talking about kindness again. The film was not filled with dramatic music or staged performances. It was raw and honest. A woman handing bread to a child. A boy carrying groceries for an old man. A driver stopping traffic to help someone blind. A little girl giving away her favorite toy. Strangers lifting a car to free a trapped kitten. Each moment was a reminder that the human spirit was not broken. It was alive and strong. The impact was beyond what Daniel had imagined. In one town a bakery started leaving free loaves each night for anyone in need. In another city students began filming their own good deeds and sharing them online. A charity wrote to Daniel saying donations had doubled after people watched his film. And every week more messages reached his inbox from people who said they felt hope again. One evening Daniel sat by the same park where he had once filmed the homeless woman and the little girl. The bench was empty now, yet the memory of that moment remained as fresh as the day it happened. He thought about the thousands of unseen stories happening every day that no camera could ever catch. A neighbor helping another with groceries. A stranger paying for someone's meal. A kind word spoken to someone lonely. He realized that kindness did not need to be recorded to matter. Its power existed in the act itself. As time passed Daniel continued filming, but with a lighter heart. He no longer felt the pressure to prove anything. Humanity had already proved itself. What mattered was to keep reminding people that even the smallest action could change the path of another person. A loaf of bread could restore dignity. A smile could heal pain. A stuffed bear could bring tears of joy. Years later Daniel's videos were still being watched. Some were played in hospitals to comfort patients. Others were shown in schools to teach children that kindness was strength, not weakness. People began calling him the man who reminded the world of compassion. Daniel always smiled when he heard that, because he knew the truth. He was not the author of these acts. He had only been the witness. The kindness belonged to the people who performed it and to the world that received it. The city around him kept rushing with noise and movement, yet whenever Daniel lifted his little camera he still saw what many ignored. He saw kindness like sparks of light breaking through darkness. And with every recording he knew more hearts would remember. So it happened that strangers continued to help strangers. Children continued to give without fear. Men and women continued to pause for one another. And each time an act of kindness touched a life, the faith in humanity was restored again and again.